Matthew Griffin, better known as the Fanatical Futurist, back again. So we're going to be having a look at the future of science fiction like news. Now, I have to say, basically, as you'll see throughout this sort of little video, basically the only thing I have to say about science fiction is that science fiction is dead. And I also have to say thank you to you guys, because we've now got 2 channels, basically with over 100,000 subscribers. So YouTube have been pounding my door, basically sending me all sorts of little goodies like this, etc., etc. So I think we've now hit about 750,000 subs across the 311 Institute and Fanatical Futurist YouTube channels. So thank you for that. We've unlocked the future for over 10 million people just in this year alone. So when we have a look at trying to democratize access to the future, bring you news on the future so that you can understand what's happening, why you should care, and then maybe even how to prepare for it, I said we're doing really, really well. So thank you. Now, so what we're going to do is I'll go through these ones in the next video, so because I'm playing a little bit of catch up. So I'm going to go through the news that I've actually seen near the sort of the start of October. So this is the emerging and literally beyond the bleeding edge science and technology news and breakthroughs, basically that I mean, you might have seen some of them. I think you probably missed most of them because, you know, they're all over the place. I tend to sort of hunt far and wide for you, bring it all back, and then stick it on my fanaticalfuturist.com blog, which is what this is. Okay, so there's lots and lots of stuff that's going on. Okay, so firstly, the Nexus payment system is now operational. I've been talking about this for about the past 4 or 5 years. The Nexus payment system allows you to do cross-border payments in 60 seconds. Now, what that basically means is that you can send a payment from wherever you are to whoever you want to send a payment to in whatever other country, and they will receive it in their bank account within 60 seconds. Now, to put that into context, depending on the country that you live in and where you're trying to send money to, quite often that can take, 2, 3, or 4 days. So this, in the world of payments, a cross-border payment system that can transfer your money in 60 seconds is stunning. Now, we've also got First Abu Dhabi Bank, who are one of my clients. Hey, guys. And JP Morgan, who are another client. Hello, guys. Who've been piloting programmable money. Now, programmable money is essentially it's a kind of cryptocurrency that you can apply blockchain-like smart contracts to. So you can quite literally program the money to almost do anything. I mean, a very, very common example is, say, for example, you order something online and it's cash on delivery. Once, for example, FedEx has got a proof of delivery, once you've signed, then the payment comes out of your bank account and the goods are transferred and the money's transferred and everything else. Now, programmable payments, when we have a look at some of the use cases, there should be a huge number of use cases because you can program your money to behave in lots and lots of different ways. So we're moving from the idea of kind of dumb money to smart money that can be given a little bit of a mind of its own and that can behave in particular ways under particular conditions. So increases our control, basically, of our money and other people's control of our money, which is, that's a whole other topic. That's a central bank digital currency topic. Let's see, won't go into that in a minute. Now, this particular worm, it's a cyber worm, is nuts. I know quite a lot of national security and cyber security researchers who, when I first pointed this out to them, they just said, that's impossible. Then they had to look at it and went, fucking hell, excusing my French. So this is Morris 2, the cyber worm. Now, what is special about Morris 2 is I can send you an email. Within that email, there is an adversarial artificial intelligence prompt. So your email system reads that hidden adversarial prompt, and here's the magic. Morris cracks the guardrails on your artificial intelligence. once Morris has cracked the guardrails and the security around your artificial intelligence, automatically, by the way, it's a zero-click piece of, shall we say, malware. It then does something interesting. It turns the AI input into an output. Now, that's a rather silly kind of way of saying that Morris 2, the artificial intelligence worm, cracks your artificial intelligence model and then gets your artificial intelligence model to autonomously and automatically, with 0 clicks, go and hack all of the other artificial intelligences it can find. It's nuts. At the moment, there's no defense against it. I highly suggest that you actually read this one and maybe hide in a cupboard somewhere. Now, what else have we got? So Coinbase have been very active, obviously, in the cryptocurrency world, but they've been very active on experimenting with crypto. I mean, it's not particularly a surprise, but they've been doing some interesting things. So in this particular example, Coinbase wrapped a Bitcoin, and by wrapping a Bitcoin, they managed to enable on-chain transactions between different blockchains. So one of the biggest problems that we kind of have with blockchains is you have, one blockchain here, another blockchain here. They don't really talk to one another. And if you want to do a transaction between the blockchains in terms of a commercial transaction, you can't really do that either. The protocols are kind of coming along, et cetera, but it's actually tricky. So the concept of wrapped Bitcoin or wrapped cryptocurrency is the fact that if I am on one blockchain, for example, Ethereum, and I want to, say, make a transaction with somebody or something or a company that's on another blockchain, then I can do that quite seamlessly. Next, basically, we've got Huawei. So when we have a look at Apple's global market share is for smartphones, obviously, the iPhone is now down at something like 18%. So I do a lot of work basically with companies like Huawei and some of the Chinese organizations. They are absolutely relentless. And when I say relentless, I mean relentless, basically in big 150 font type in bright red, underlined many times. So Huawei has been out innovating Apple for a very long time. And they've just brought out their new trifold phone. They've also brought out their Harmony OS operating system now as well, which chips away at the Google Play Store. So as Apple's innovation engine continues to stall, Huawei and Oppo and a couple of other Chinese manufacturers are increasingly eating into that very high-end, very premium smartphone space that Apple traditionally kind of occupies. And Apple is being disintermediated in a way that it should have seen 10 years ago. But yeah, it's Apple's relevance both within China and Asia and Africa especially, which is sort of Huawei's preferred hunting ground, is only going to wane and actually become much less and much more muted over the years to come. And so even though this is kind of like a basic piece of news, it's actually a thought experiment in disruption and disintermediation of a $3 trillion American tech giant. And it's not going to be the first time. So here we go. We've got new side channel attacks. So if you like cyber, we've got some new side channel attacks. We saw researchers in Israel manage to see what you were seeing on your computer screen. Okay, now that's not particularly big news in itself. But what is big news is they did it with sound. Now, when you think about the computer screen that you're actually watching this video on, hello, by the way, when you think about the computer screen that you're actually watching this on, each individual pixel, it turns out, is making its own faint noise. So a pixel that's displaying a black pixel or black color might be really noisy. A pixel that's displaying a white one will be less noisy, all that kind of stuff. So researchers, and this isn't the first time, have actually managed to use sound. They get the sound from the monitor itself, run that through an artificial intelligence model, and then the AI recreates the image that the person is seeing on screen. So that's just nuts. Um, we've got Neuralink. So Neuralink has finally created an invasive brain implant that has managed to restore people's sight, and that's now got FDA approval. Uh, we've got, this is an interesting one. When we have a look at the world of brain-machine interfaces and all that kind of stuff, this is an interesting one for the simple reason that a little while ago, I talked about a patient in America, a Neuralink patient in America, who'd been given a brain implant, so a computer chip in his head. Now, he started doing multitasking. So he was writing a book, responding to emails, he was playing a game, all with his brain. And this was a quadriplegic patient. Now, a few months later, psychologists went back, had conversations with him and everything else, and they found that his brain was actually doing something really strange. They've called it cognitive compartmentalization, but this is where they started realizing that this guy's brain had started compartmentalizing each particular task in a particular part of his brain. So now think of this from a future of humanity perspective. We all multitask, but what happens when you can genuinely use 100% of your brain to do 1,000 things at once? So cognitive compartmentalization, easy for me to say now, that is just fascinating from a human potential perspective, from a sci-fi perspective, from a future of work perspective, etc., etc. It's just nuts, and it's not going to be the first time that we see these kind of neuroscience experiments and pieces of research coming out. And then speaking of brain-machine interfaces, when we actually have a look at things like Neuralink, one of the biggest problems that brain-machine interfaces have actually had, especially when they're inserted into the human brain, is if you use the wrong materials, then those materials can corrode. And when you end up with a brain-machine interface chip, whatever, corroding in someone's brain, you end up with brain damage. So on the one hand, we've seen quite a lot of development around biocompatible materials which are being used for brain-machine interfaces. That's one. But this is another example of the Chinese looking at something that we're developing in the West, brain-machine interface, and then going another one or two steps further. So Chinese researchers with the Chinese Academy of Sciences have combined synthetic biology, genetic engineering, and genetically engineered cells with brain-machine interfaces. And by wrapping the brain-machine interface in genetically modified human cells, they did two things. Now, on the one hand, they improved the connection between the person's brain and the brain-machine interface. Secondly, that improved the performance and the read-write capabilities, basically, of that brain-machine interface. So they've out-Musked Elon Musk. And it's not the first time, basically, that we're seeing this kind of Chinese N+2, N+3 experimentation, and even in some cases N+4 and N+5 generation technology experimentation. Personally, I find it fascinating. The Chinese, love them or hate them, they are doing some really, really good cutting edge stuff that we in the West, I mean, come on, stop being lazy. Anyone want to have a conversation with me on that, by the way, dial me up. And then the last three pieces of news on this particular page. So again, China's quantum computers are now increasingly accurate, etc., etc. They've had a couple of recent breakthroughs, and again, that's now freaked out the US and the UK, who've gone, blimey, the Chinese are pulling ahead in quantum technologies. Basically, we need to get our thumbs out, basically, and actually catch up. Notice that I use the words catch up, not keep ahead. So, you know, there's that one. And then digital twins. Digital twins are kind of an old concept now, but they're still very, very relevant, along with computer simulations. Increasingly, we're creating digital twins of all sorts of things, like the actual Earth, basically, where we're actually using digital twins of the Earth to then predict certain Earth-based outcomes. You know, so yes, on the one hand, we're using digital twins to try to predict climate change and the weather and everything else, but we're also using digital twins, for example, to try to understand what happens to an individual area when certain factors change, you know, whatever those factors are, from a planetary perspective. We're also creating digital twins, basically, of factories like BMW. So they'll create a digital twin of their factories before they're built with companies like Siemens. They will then get those digital factories in simulation to build a product, but then they'll use the artificial intelligences to optimize the manufacturing of the products they want to make before the factories are even built. And that goes down even to the human level, where, for example, with BMW, they're actually creating digital twins of humans basically within their factories so they can understand how to improve the performance of people within a factory that hasn't been built yet. So digital twins are fascinating, and yeah, I don't think we talk about them enough. But combined with computer simulation technologies and so on and so forth, for example, the ability to do computer simulation of new drugs and materials and semiconductors and all kinds of different things, cars, etc., etc. Chemistry. It's just very, on the one hand, very fascinating, but it also means that we can dramatically accelerate the rates of innovation that we see by millions fold, really, in quite a lot of cases. And then this one, the billionaire CEO of Infosys over in India has called for the development of a finternet. So for anyone that works in the world of finance and financial services, you'll be, or should be, fairly comfortable with the term DeFi, so decentralized finance. Now, the concept of a finternet is it's a financial internet. Now, anywhere you travel, if you're a regular traveler like I am, you know that you've got different currencies, you've got different payment systems. Beneath those payment systems, you've got different payment rails and everything else, which makes moving money from A to B incredibly, incredibly difficult. So, for example, on the last little video basically that I did, I talked about a breakthrough in creating Nexus, which is a platform that lets you transfer money between countries in 60 seconds. So that was kind of a breakthrough. Now, bringing up the Finternet, the concept of the Finternet is an open financial internet that allows companies and individuals to move money from anyone to anywhere, anywhere on the planet, frictionlessly, seamlessly, but at very, very low cost and fast. And so there are quite a lot of people, obviously, in the financial services world that have sort of rallied around basically this, you know, this new name, Finternet. And so over the course of the rest of the year, I expect this to be like an upticking trend. And that's it, really. So I hope you enjoyed that. We went through, what do we do? We went through 12, almost 2 weeks worth of news stories there, sort of trying to condense them down a little bit at the moment as I try to catch up. And thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Take care. Goodbye.